Steve wasn't the kind of guy people noticed until they went missing. He worked the graveyard shift at Hartman Industrial, an old warehouse nestled behind overgrown chain-link fencing with flickering lamps and blacked-out windows. Most of the town thought it had shut down years ago, but inside, the night crew kept it barely alive, moving forgotten cargo, rust-covered pallets, and expired product under broken lights and creaking rafters. Steve ran the forklift, and not just any forklift. An ancient yellow beast with cracked paint, bent forks, and gashes along the cage like it had survived a war. He'd named it Gertie. Steve talked to Gertie like she was alive, called her girl, polished her metal teeth, and whispered to her during breaks. Some nights, other workers heard him cooing to her like a pet. Other nights, they heard something whispering back. At first, no one cared. Steve was quiet, reliable, always on time. The perfect night shift drone. But then came the accidents. The first was Randy, a temp worker, young, loud, kind of a jerk. He joked one night about how Gertie looked like she'd killed someone before. Steve didn't say a word, just stared. Later that shift, Randy went missing. No screams, no struggle. Just vanished from Bay 4 like fog in a breeze. His hard hat was found later, wedged deep into a stack of crates. No one remembered stacking. It had a deep dent in it, like something heavy had clamped down. Management said he probably quit. But some of the crew whispered, "Check the tires." The next was Debbie, a supervisor. She was tough, ran the floor like a drill sergeant, and didn't tolerate nonsense. One night, she scolded Steve over the radio. He'd parked Gertie in a restricted zone again, blocking a fire exit. He didn't respond, just drove away, slow and silent, into the shadows of Bay 7. Debbie followed. She never came back. They found her clipboard crushed and soaked in red behind a stack of leaking chemical drums. The only thing left of her was her necklace, hanging from Gertie's control lever the next morning. Steve said nothing, just clocked in and started his shift, like nothing happened. That's when people really started to get scared. Isaac, a college kid working nights to pay rent, thought it was all a joke. He teased Steve once, called Gertie his robot girlfriend. That same week, Isaac found a note in his locker. Gertie doesn't like jokes. 2 days later, he disappeared during break. His boots were found dangling from the ceiling of the loading dock, laces tied around a pipe like someone had lifted him off the ground and hung them there. The boots were still warm, but Isaac was gone. One of the remaining workers, Melanie, started recording her shifts. She was convinced Steve was behind it all, but the footage always glitched when he got close, like something didn't want to be seen. One night, she recorded the warehouse going pitch black at 2:14 a.m. Then came a soft engine hum, then metallic screeches, then a wet, rhythmic crunching. The footage ended with the camera tipping over. It landed at an angle. The last frame showed forklift tracks smeared in something dark and sticky, leading straight out the open loading dock doors. Melanie was never found. That was the night Hartman Industrial was shut down for good. But that wasn't the end. A few months later, over 100 miles away, another warehouse reported odd activity. Boxes rearranged, security footage erased. One worker claimed to see an old forklift circling the loading bays with no driver. He quit the next day. In the break room, someone found a sticky note on the fridge that read, "Gertie's still hungry." The legend grew. Truckers started talking about it on the CB. Stories about a ghost forklift prowling abandoned loading docks. Some claimed to have seen a man with pale skin and hollow eyes, riding a rusted machine with metal teeth carved into its forks. One said he stopped for a flat tire and returned to find his trailer rearranged into a sculpture. shaped like a screaming face, built entirely out of pallets and bones. The only clue? Forklift treads, leading into the forest. No matter where the stories came from, one detail stayed the same. You always heard it before you saw it. That slow, steady rumble of heavy wheels on concrete. That low, grunting engine breathing in the dark. They say Steve was never caught, that maybe he wasn't human anymore, that whatever he'd become, he'd merged with Gertie, flesh and metal fused by something evil in the warehouse shadows. Others say he made a pact, traded his soul for vengeance or purpose, that Gertie is cursed, and Steve is just her chosen rider, bound to feed her, bound to drive forever. And if you ever work the night shift, especially alone, there are rules. Never mock a man's machine. Never park where Gertie runs. And if you hear a forklift when no one's scheduled to drive it, run. Because the last thing you'll see is the reflection of steel teeth in your own terrified eyes before the forks come down. And then your cargo, forever. If this story gave you chills, then hit that like button, share it with someone brave enough to work alone at night, and subscribe for more terrifying tales every week. And remember, if you hear something rolling toward you in the dark, don't turn around. It might be Steve, only on Spooky Chilling Tales.